he's gonna be filming, so no chit-chatting on the side. Now, just so that you know, this is what was upcycled from a sheet that I had. So this is something, I do know that they run a little bit short, okay? So the other thing that you want to do, possibly if you have long legs, is measure your inseam. And your inseam is from the crotch down to the bottom of your foot. Mm-hmm. And so if, let's say, you want it, with every size, it starts from extra small to small, medium, large, and extra large. They run generous, so you'll notice that I have the pair, you can tell that they run short. I also cut the small, and you're gonna see the type of fabric that I did. And so my uncle's an old vintage surfer, so I thought this would be really cool for him. But I realized that it's short. Thank goodness he's got short legs. So this is gonna be okay. But I pray that I got the right size for him, because that's the key. Double check on your sizing. It's super important. Now in our pattern here, we don't have a pocket, and it doesn't have pockets here, but I personally like cargo pockets. Mm-hmm. So I made a little pattern, an extra pattern. For those of you who are a little adventurous and would like something extra, you can do that. So from this point, what I'm gonna do is I chose my size that I'm gonna make. This is gonna be for my niece. I never cut. There's two pieces. There's gonna be a front side and a back side. And it says right here, you're gonna cut two pieces. Now with every single pattern that you're gonna have in any project, you're gonna have a grain line, okay? So you're gonna see that this line in the center will be the grain line, and this is always gonna be parallel to the selvage line. And just remember, the selvage, it could have markings, it could be a raw edge like this side, but you'll know that's where the roll on both sides. So the reason why you cut it is this way has a little more give. This does not. Again, when you have your fabric, I didn't pre-shrink my fabric, but I would recommend it. So at this point, pre-shrinking is always recommended. What I like to do is I'm gonna go ahead and do one at a time, and I'll start with my front side. You notice that my fabric isn't wide. Sometimes if you have a larger roll that's a 58-inch roll, you can do it side by side. And the other thing is, if someone has plaids, you may want to line up the plaids by opening this up so that you can be on the same line. But today, I'm not going to worry about that, and I'm just going to line this up with my selvage, and I'll bring it down here. Sometimes you may want to iron your fabric before. I'm not going to today, but so I just estimated. But if you have a measuring, one of the clear measuring, do you have a measuring thing, the clear measuring? To my rescue. Thank you, thank you. So this is sometimes what you want to do is you take the end of, let's say, the selvage, and you want to see that it should be 10 all the way across. See how I'm off? So this will kind of help you out a little bit so that it is parallel, because you think this may be the straight side, but it's not, because you have an angle with your pants.
Oh, 10 inches from the grain line.
So basically this center line is the center point, and I just want to make sure that I am pretty much on target. I can just adjust it just a touch. Okay, pretty good. So we're set. What I like to do is I like to get heavy things and we have weights, but you know what? Here's some natural weights that we can grab. When you have thicker fabric, you're not necessarily worried about everything sliding around, but if it's lighter weight, I meant when it's heavier, it doesn't slide around, especially when it's fleece, not fleece,
Flannel.
flannel, thank you very much. But when you're having, let's say, something like this and how lightweight, it definitely, you may want to pin it so that it doesn't move around. With this, I'm going to take my invisible pen and I'm just going to go and I'm going to make sure I press down my pattern as I go so my fabric doesn't move. You're going to see that in every pattern there are going to be notches. Do you know what a notch is? A notch is a marking exactly in a pattern. And what it does is it helps you line up your two pieces of patterns. So this is going to help me line up my fronts and my backs. A single notch represents the front. A double notch is more your back. But mark them. And it's very, very important because when I put the two pieces of fabric, my front and back, it's going to be really important to line them up. And that's where I would put my pin. I would match my notches because sometimes my length is a little bit off, and when you put the notches together, you get everything together. I always pin my notches, my notch points, and I always make sure my waist is where I start. I never start at the hem because if you start here, you can be lopsided. But if you start at the waist and so down, if it's uneven, you can hide it. You can hide your mistake.
So is this pattern with seam allowance?
Yes, it is. Good question.
What's
So-
the seam allowance?
Seam allowance is, you're going to be sewing, you remember 5/8 where you were doing all of those? So basically your seam allowance will be 5/8, and that's basically tallied into this pattern. Okay,
One
so
question.
yes.
So that's say, if I want longer pants, should I just extend it?
Good question, Jane. Thank you. So at this point, my niece, and thank you, whereas I'm going to go ahead, I probably should have started further up. So that was a really great question. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to leave this all the way. Goodness sakes. I forgot to do that.
How about just flip the other side and get a longer one?
She's so smart. Okay.
我们班上没有人再画一个跟直。
It's kind of disappearing.
Just wash it off, girl.
Okay. So at this point, okay.
Happy accident.
Thank you. I'm sorry I wasted your time, but think about that. Mistakes,
It'd be like that.
honestly,
Extra done.
mistakes are the best thing because you learn by them. Like today, I cut the wrong size for my niece. And so at this point, I'm gonna go ahead and get this really quick, do the same thing, and do the salvage, and it's pretty much even. I can do it at this end instead.
I have one more question.
Please.
So let's say if I measure myself from crotch to my, to the floor,
Uh-huh.
and should it be this length or like this length?
Well, if you, obviously, you're gonna allow seam allowance.
Yeah.
So the seam allowance is there. If you're saying that you need extra room, you're gonna extend the length. So, did I answer your question?
Yeah. So is this the one that we need to measure?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm.
Yeah.
This is called inseam.
Yeah. Easy.
So see this? This is the crotch right here. And think of this, I wanna show you something. This is the back. So the back will always be longer. So I'm gonna have two pieces from the back. This is my crotch. and then this is my inseam. Then you take this and you have another side. You see how when I lay it down, I'm gonna have two sides.
Yeah.
So just remember, the same thing applies. So this will be my side seam. This is my center seam, inseam. And the same with the front. So this will be my front, and if you see this, compare this. When in doubt, you're like, oh my gosh, which one's the front, which one's the back? Always know the back is always longer and allowing more space for the tushy. And so the same thing here. This is the front, and then you're going to cut two sides of it. Okay, so that kind of gives you an idea and a visual. I'm a visual person. When it comes to math and stuff like it's, but once it's explained that way, you'll understand it. And when you're sewing and you are in doubt of what goes together, always hold it up to you and get a visual, because that way it will make sense. Trust me, I've sewn so many wrong sides together. So thank you very much for that. Okay, now I did have this, okay. So the meantime, I'm gonna do, this is the back, it doesn't matter. I wanna make sure that, let's say, I can always make extra. How many inches do I want? I'll probably do, I'm gonna do 3 extra inches. She's a big girl.
Okay.
So she's got nice long legs, and I know this is almost perfect for me, and I have a 29-inch inseam, but it gave me extra I did a big hem. I did a good 2-inch hem. Probably about 1.5 inch. So allow yourself and make sure your inseam is correct for yourself. Okay, I switched to the back, but that's okay. At this point, I'm taking the 1, and I'm gonna take it to, let's just go to the 13th, and I'm gonna make sure that it's 13 all the way. That's not 13. That was really crooked.
Oh, so you're just using that to just align your
I'm centering it with, yes.
Okay. No, it doesn't have to be a certain inch.
No, it doesn't. It just, it could be whatever number. I make sure this is at 1, and my number happens to be 13,
Okay.
and I'm going all the way across,
Works.
and there you go. And right here, it's a little bit off. I'll just raise it a touch. We're good to go. I've got probably 3 inches. Thank you. And my little,
It's over here.
thank you. So as I said, I'm gonna mark it 3 inches.
When you're
So-
marking your notches, what are you doing are you just doing a dash inside, like underneath the
Yeah.
pattern, or outside so you can see?
Sometimes you can do both.
It's just, to see that line.
Sometimes some people like the notch outside, so it's more visual, so you don't lose it. Sometimes that little cut inside is missing, so that was a good question. Sometimes I can do this instead. So in patterns, you'll have that V shape, and that is called a notch. But in professional patterns like this, you will always have notch cutters, and it will be within. So you know both of them, but this is a production term for your notches, okay? So at this point, I'm just going to extend this just to kind of here. All right. This kind of, see how this kind of goes a little bit square? I'm just gonna fudge it. It will work a bit. So at this point, I said 3, and then I'm just gonna 1, 2, 3. All right, and then at this point, I'm just gonna take the bottoms. So you can do that yourself. So just so that you know, every pattern in production, if it's an extra small, and you go, the difference between an extra small and a small is actually, it's a 1/2 inch on each side, so it would be 1 inch. And also, you'll get that in the length extra. So sometimes if you're a little bit taller, you want extra length, you go up a size because you'll get that. And that's with every size, it goes up, you know, in regards to your, so just imagine that there's an inch longer, you know, in length. Okay, here we go. I'm gonna do it really fast. Any questions?
Well, just a touch base, you marked up 5/8 from the bottom since you made your pattern longer.
That's a great question. I wung it.
Okay.
But that's a great question because if that's the case, if you want extra, you want to allow seam allowance.
Yeah.
So usually a hem is 1 inch.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't be 5/8, but you would have, usually when you do a hem, you remember we fold all the hems a 1/4 inch first, we iron it, and then 1 inch.
Yeah.
So that's how we would do that. So what you want to do is pretty much allow 1.25 inches.
Yeah. Just.
So you see how I just kind of go pretty fast, and that's why some people you can be perfection, but I'm doing it for class. I've done it many times, but just be very, oops, see what I do? But thank goodness it's erasable. You can use chalk, you guys. You don't have to do it sometimes. If you're a little bit, let's say, more careful and time consuming, then use chalk. There's many different kinds. There's white chalk, there's yellow chalk, and there's red chalk. So you can use the color of your choice. I love chalk. I also love these, but you're gonna find that sometimes this will disappear. So it's really important. So then this is when I lift this up.
I have another question.
Yep.
So because we will use the elastic band for our waistband, right? But everybody has different size. I mean, like 1 inch, 2 inch. So will it make difference while you are drawing your waistline or no?
Nope, no difference, because all you do is you take it in further. You can cut. Usually the rule of thumb.
No.
Is
It's not the length. It's a width. Like if it's this, you need more fabric to cover it, right?
Okay. If you prefer, I'm actually recommending 1 inch and the non-roll. So it has the seam allowance for that 1 inch.
Because
if you wanted to do, yes, a 2 inch.
I have a 2.5 inch just on the table. So
then there you go.
I probably need a wider top.
So then add yourself, if I said it's an extra inch, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Or 1.5 inches, you said. So add 1.5 inches.
Yeah, so okay. So
Okay.
or if that's 1.5 inches bigger, should I double
It's
it
up to you.
to
When you're
fold
sleeping,
it?
do you want that thick of an elastic? Now, I have extra elastic if you'd like to have some, borrow mine.
Okay.
You don't have to borrow it, you can have some. But you have to think about comfort and what the pants are gonna be for and how you're gonna wear them. If they're gonna be, you bought that fabric, that gray fabric, right?
Yeah.
And so you wanna wear it out and about, it's really not necessarily gonna be for sleeping. So then that may be perfect for you. Okay, so you just also, it just depends. And let me get a scissor, and at this
Oh,
point.
here, I have a rolling cutter.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay. For those of you who don't have a roller cutter, I have a roller cutter also. But the thing is I find that you can do what you want, but if you're gonna do a roller cutter, listen here, you guys. Roller cutters always have to be on plastic, not on the table. This, I basically can go really fast. You know, it's one of those where if you want to pin it, you can. I'm having it in place sometimes. But you guys can pin your fabric if it's a really finer fabric. You want to cut just right above the line or on the line itself. I like to go with it, and I like to cut to the right of my line. So for instance, this side, I'm cutting to the left. I should be the other way around. But at this point, I like to,
Budget.
I know I'm at an angle. I can turn it around if I wanted to, right? You can just turn the whole thing. And I feel my back on this one, so ergonomically, this is really not necessarily correct. Okay, give me some helpful, what do you do, Jane?
Oh, yeah. Or
Or
we're
Anna.
calculating the,
Yeah, we're calculating.
how much wider.
Like, so,
the
okay.
waist.
For your
Yeah, for
waist?
example, the pattern is for a 1 inch waistband, right? So it's like 2 inch because it need to fold it, like 2. But if I use 2.5 inch for the band, it need 5 inch, like double the size since it need to fold it. So I
I
probably
need to add 3
3
inches.
inches. on
See how
top.
smart?
Okay.
So,
Sorry, the
Sorry.
band, the elastic
that,
was free.
that's,
so.
No.
okay, that is a visual that I think is perfect to explain, and I will show you. Did everyone get what she just said?
Yeah.
So you understand that you have to allow for the fold over at the same time.
Yeah, the same width of it plus
The fold over band.
Thank you for bringing that up.
No problem.
Okay, so at this point, I have this one extra side. And then my notch. I don't want to forget my notch. And then from this point, I can go ahead and turn it around if I wanted to. Since it's this type of fabric, it's not really going to move too much. And I just be careful, right?
Yeah, I'll put it vertically so you don't have to,
Good idea.
you know.
See, there she
Put
goes
it
to
on
my
your
rescue
back
again. So, at this point, now yes, if you guys decide you want to do a roller, I really don't do rollers in this class because they're a little bit,
finicky.
it just depends on what type of roller. They've gotten better at this point, but I prefer you guys all using scissors so there are no, you know, happenstances.
Let's cut one later.
And you find that quality of scissors is super important. Again, you keep your scissors, you keep your fabric scissors separate from your paper scissors because paper dulls your scissors. So it's super important to always have and do I have a notch right there? Yes. So don't forget your notch. And you don't want to cut all the way like 1 inch. You want to make sure that you keep it just like I would say 1/4 to 1/8 of an inch. All right. So that's one piece. So what's nice is for those of you, you may want to mark your pieces. So for instance, with mine, if I have let's say a pencil, I just want you to know that sometimes you can't see your notches and you're like, oh my gosh, what is that? So this was my back. So this will be my center back, and mark it on the inside so that you can remember. So this will be center back, okay? So that you remember the sides they are. And then I'm going to do a large, and I'm going to do a center front now in the large. So I'll just roll this up. Oh, guess what I forgot. See that wonderful little extra? See the difference? I gave it 3 extra inches, correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So remember that when you do both sides, you guys. Is it hot in here?
Now you're just working.
What were you gonna say, Miss Jane?
Oh, I just have a little complaint with Anna. Let's say if I want high-waisted.
Yep.
Can I extend the top?
These are pretty high-waisted.
Already
They are?
high-waisted?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but yes, you can. You can do that if you'd like. Do you want high-waisted also?
I kind of want to see the.
She want oversized.
I kind of
Okay,
want oversized.
so this is the front right here. You want to see it?
Yeah, we do it. Is the one that the Snoopy one, is that large?
Yes.
Is it large? Okay.
I forgot that. I thought it was a medium,
Mhm.
and that's why I cut, because they run so big. See how huge those are? They're really, really big. So I went to a medium in my second for me, and the mediums fit really great. But these look like they were more medium. I couldn't figure it out. So at this point, just go by the measurements. Because always go larger,
Oh god.
because you can always take in, right? So, and that is something that you can always correct things like that. But when they're smaller, you can't correct it. So with my uncle's pair of that really fabulous print that I just showed you, this Hawaiian print, I have a feeling I messed up and I cut small, thinking, because he's super skinny. And so I'm gonna have to get his measurements, because I'm doing sight unseen. He's usually a little smaller than I am, but I may have to enter a side, like a strip, to make him a little sportier. So sometimes you can get innovative and do something, maybe a denim strip, but you want to do the same weight. I don't want to do anything thicker. I want to be able to do a cotton so that it doesn't throw it off. When you wash it, it's not going to throw it off. There was one time I bought some fabric, you guys, and I loved my fabric, but guess what? I didn't have enough and so what I did is I started my pattern here, and I did a cuff with a contrasting cuff and a contrasting side pocket. They turned out so cute. So sometimes you guys can get creative on things.
I have a question. Did you go over how to measure yourself with this?
Yeah. So basically you put it around your hips.
Around your-
So you take the tape measure and you just put it around your hips.
Biggest part of your hips.
Your booty.
I guess like your whole body though.
Not here, but just from here, the widest, like around. Okay? Okay,
See.
so since I started this side, I'm gonna go ahead and have my extra, basically 3-inch. I wanna make sure. And from that point, I'm gonna go ahead and make sure with that tape. So I'm gonna start at 1, make sure that I'm gonna do 10 this time. All right.
How would we make them skinnier if we don't want them like?
How would I
parachute
make what's skinnier?
the pants? Your leg.
Oh, you mean in the leg?
Mm-hmm.
Like a dart?
You're kind of changing up the pattern. So at this
That's
point,
alternation class.
yeah,
Is there
there's a
easy
whole
one
different.
like that? You could like do an elastic channel at the bottom too, if you want to just have it tight there and have it like cinched.
That makes sense.
All right, so this should be here. Let's go back. I want to see. All right. All right, so the thing is there we go.
Mm-hmm. They're super wide.
Boy, I really just screwed that up, didn't I?
Like parachute pants.
Okay.
Parachute pants.
This is the perfectionist that kind of comes out inside of me a little bit, just to make sure. Thank you. You saw me do it. You guys are, whoa, it's like a seesaw, right? Okay, it's good enough. So now I have to do 3 inches and it's not enough there, so obviously I'm just gonna pull it straight. Thank you for keeping an eye out for me. Appreciate it. 3 inches.
它已经 line up，已经 parallel with the grain。
Yeah.
All right. 3,
Oh, that was very cool.
3. This is usually. So I'm gonna go with this. And then I'm gonna go ahead and do something like, see how that is just like a slight,
Curve.
yeah, for the hem itself. So at this point, this is pattern making when you get it to this point, you know, that's the thing. And then I'll go ahead and do this.
I guess you could like slide it down, copy how it is,
Just to
and
line
slide
up
it
like
up
That's
and
the
square
thing.
it.
Okay.
Oh, so yeah.
You see what I did is
Yeah.
I followed this line here
Yeah.
first.
The lowest part.
Yeah. And then I just added this angle
The curve.
to this.
Mm.
Does that make sense?
Very.
You think about your memory.
Okay. I can't wait to, you know, in production and with your sample making, you learn how to do samples. You can lay out any type of, let's say your favorite style and lay it out and then add seam allowance. Someone taught me how to do patterns that way, but mathematically I've never taken a pattern class, so I'm not the expert on this, just FYI. You?
No.
You do? You're a pattern maker?
I
Oh,
took a class before.
You did?
But yeah, but it's a long time ago.
All right.
And
So you want to answer the question as far as what Jerry was asking? So Jerry wanted to do a skinny leg. Would you do the skinny leg on the inseam or you do it on both?
Both.
Tell 'em.
He knows already.
You do? Do you
I'm
know
assuming.
already?
Think you
So what do you think, Jane?
You take it to here.
I think it's from outside.
Both sides. Okay. So you would just adjust the angle. But the thing is they're baggy here. So it's, you would take it from the inseam, I would say this way, and you would take it from here. You want this area, but yeah, it's just a matter. You can take it from the bottom, it just depending on how much room, and then angle it from here up. But you guys, I really want you to keep it simple because some of you are.
That's not fine.
Getting real creative.
Okay. And what was it? What would you say, Jane?
Oh, so when I take the class, so there always a middle line and like a parallel to the grain, and then you have your hip and you have your waist and you have your leg, like how wide you are, and then you line them together. So that's your size, your pattern. But this is more like general. So it's a little bit like oversized.
So you measure from the middle.
Yeah, you won't measure
measure
from
from the
middle.
middle out.
So it needs to be like equalized.
So basically,
So
we have, like, if
you
you're
wouldn't do
28,
it
we
from
used to be
here.
14 From the diameter.
You wouldn't do it from inseam? You would measure from where?
Yeah.
There's a lot of lines between, and then we just
Because if you just
See, I was thinking something like this. You
Yeah.
keep this,
Yeah.
but yet
okay.
you would just,
no.
Makes
you
sense.
wouldn't do
I'm
it
doing
that way?
like this, and line them together, and this, line them together, and use the U-shape ruler to do the
Like the
curve.
ratio of.
You want to
There
choose
is
the
right.
length of the
Yeah,
U shape.
something like that.
So if you just
So you would adjust all of this
Yes,
just to
everything.
make a skinny?
No, make the size I want.
Oh, no, he
very
was
fit.
asking to do a skinny leg.
Oh, you just want to skinny? Oh, that
I was just telling him right
Oh,
here.
I just want
Yeah.
to skin it.
So
okay. I still wanna
That's,
take
yeah,
the
you
whole thing
wouldn't
picture.
mess
Yeah.
with this at all.
That's true.
So if someone wanted a skinnier leg, you just move it from the inseam and adjust it you know, how skinny you'd want.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I would say make it first, and then, but you guys are getting a little advanced on me. But I'll try to answer your questions. Again, make sure, for those of you who weren't here for this last demo, if your fabric is lighter weight and it moves around a lot, you want to make sure you pin your fabric so that it doesn't get all wonky. I've got pretty stable fabric, so I'm not really concerned about it. And I prefer you guys not do rollers. If you're super confident and you experienced, and it's a super protected roller blade, some of them are completely open. So I have one that is not. It's a great roller. Okay, so as I said, I'm just gonna go all the way.
Did you get it? There you go. I was struggling.
But here I'm switching stuff and sliding things around. If you have thinner fabric, you don't want to do this, okay? I think it would be a little challenging for you guys. But right now, it's not so bad for me.
44.
And some of you may cut and you're gonna see that, oh my gosh, my hem is completely off. Don't worry about your hem. You just wanna make sure you start sewing from waist down, from inseam down, not from the length up, ever.
I did that so many times.
Sometimes fabric scissors are nice and long and you open and you do nice big cuts that they recommend, but I'm a little bit. So if you're a pattern maker, you've known how to sew before. Are you a teacher at all?
No.
Your think she is.
Yeah, I just always have interest in like fashion design and then fabric cutting, and there is a very intense class I take for half of the year, and then they just basically teach you everything super fast. Yeah, like you need to cut your fabric at home. They just teach you how to make the pattern and then how to sew it together, basically.
You took it here or where?
Back in Taiwan, which is my home country.
Oh.
Yeah, so I have difficulties to translate the Chinese to English because I know what that is, but I know the English name because just sometimes when we discuss, we just use Chinese. So yeah, I just have a little bit difficulties, but it's fine. Just translate it. Yeah, but I think it's nice that Tamara just always like teach us basic, like the tip, and yeah, that helps.
Yeah, I didn't know I need to parallel the green line.
You didn't?
No.
Oh.
I was like,
If fits, it fits.
I was
You
like,
gotta turn
it
it.
always, the hem always comes out kind of wonky. I was like, I wonder why. Now I
Okay,
know.
you guys, that's a great point, because when you wash it and you're not cutting on the grain, then if you're cutting on the bias and you're just trying to save fabric, then you will have, when you wash it, have you ever bought a garment and the hem is like a t-shirt, and after you wash it, it's way off?
Yeah.
And the reason why is they're trying to cut costs. It's cheap and they're not following the way it should be. So they're cutting it on the diagonal. Okay. So this is a lot of scrap. This is also great for my pockets, whatever I want to do. You can also make little bags out of them, pouches, so we can have some fun. So today, I just really would like to go fast forward and go straight to your little pouches and have some fun. Okay, so what I have forgotten right now is I forgot to cut my notches, right? So it's super important for me to go back, and then I have 2 notches here. And you notice that I only cut it quarter of an inch, because if my seam was quarter of an inch, then I would have a hole. But I'm 5/8 seam allowance. And then here's another one, a notch. Okay, so at this point, thank you. Alrighty, so I want to show you. So basically, this is the front, right? So I have two fronts right now. But the thing is what I want to do is I want to put together my fronts and my backs. So now I have my front, I have my back, and I didn't, look what I did, I totally missed cutting. Oh, that's the wrong side, right?
Mm-hmm.
Are you sure? Yeah.
That's the
Okay,
short.
I moved it. Okay, so at this point, you're gonna see, I'm gonna put those together. I'm gonna put the inseam to inseam,
Right.
right? So when I sew together, what I love to do is, you getting all this?
Yes.
Okay,
it's,
cool.
it's still recording.
So I want you to take this top, and this is gonna match this.
The top layer of the backside.
So, are you sure I didn't cut that?
Yeah, you got it right.
You're
No,
good.
that's
It's
good.
because you
You're
drew on the
good.
bottom
You're
side.
Yeah, you know,
Okay.
remember we flipped it over?
Thank you.
Yeah. You're good, you're good.
So, then these two pieces go together, and I'm gonna separate these, because this is what I'm gonna sew together pretty soon. And so these two, I didn't mark my front center, did I?
No.
I marked my front back, so I'm gonna write front center. And then mark.
Front center on that.
Okay, so you guys, I want you to ask me, I want you to tell me which one is my front and which one's my back.
Front's
The
gonna be
bigger
shorter.
one's back.
Okay, so the front's gonna be shorter.
Mhm.
This my front?
Yeah.
Or my back?
Front.
Perfect. Okay, front center. Alrighty, so you're gonna have a front center with a back center. Well, center back. Okay, so you're gonna have those together. For anything you do, for shorts, for pants, you always start the inseam first. You sew those inseams just to make it simple. You're gonna say, you immediately think, oh, I'll sew these together. But honestly, line this up right here.
'Cause they got
And
different
then
ones.
guess what I'm gonna do is, you remember those notches that I had?
Yeah.
Look at, there's
Line
one
them up.
that's right there. It's a single
Love.
notch. That means it's gonna be a front. And then I just mark that together. So that's my notch, and then I also have the other notch here. So at this point, I have my two notches. I always match my two notches up. See, I'm off here. See, there's three.
You just never think about it wearing clothes, how much goes into it.
Okay. And you see they don't match, right? Pardon me, I'm marching the wrong thing. Okay, pardon me, wait a second. I'm doing the inseam, remember?
Yep.
Okay, so inseam, those notches didn't match up because they're not gonna be sewn together.
Mm-hmm. Just a singular notch on the end.
So, thank you very much, Anna. She's keeping me in line. So always concentrate on this to this
Word.
to begin with. So I think that's a good thing for right now. And from that point, now I'll let you go ahead, and I'm gonna have you all now switch over, and you're gonna follow me, and we're gonna go ahead and do some demos on your zipper or your pouch. Since you guys did it already, then you guys are ready and you're set to go.
And
With
then
what you
just
need to
start
do.
from the top to the end, right? From
When you sew, yes.
okay. And then,
And
what's
then
the
guess what?
allowance?
It's always 5/8 seam allowance. You
Okay.
have your instructions on your thing,
Okay.
and it tells you step by step how to do it.
Sure.
The handout that I gave you guys.
Yeah.
And then from that point, you will always, when you do one seam, you're gonna finish your seam. And what is finishing your seam?
Back.
Zigzag. Oh, yeah, you finish it. It could be an overlock, but we don't have overlocks today. This is not an overlock machine. Yeah, we do have this, but not in this class. Not over, a serger, at this point. We have sergers, but that's another class for you guys. So, okay, there we go. And then the next class, what I'll go ahead and do is I'll make sure that I start sewing and doing a demo for the sewing for you guys before. So I think what I would really love for you guys to have is we can do our zippers, but if you guys want to go to cutting after and cut your pants, you can, or we'll start doing it next one.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. I hope that helps.